lobbyists representing life sciences professionals, but especially virologists, really pushed back on the idea that we even needed to take a second look at how we regulate this, while other, highly credible experts say that this EcoHealth Alliance grant, that funneled money from the NIH to the Wuhan Institute of Virology is really emblematic of the issues and oversight here. Unfortunately, a lot of the evidence that we're sort of uncovering through FOIA requests is that American institutions and American virologists and lab directors said that they had a lot more access than they actually did. And so we see them sort of privately worrying about the possibility of a lab accident at the Wuhan Institute of Virology while assuring the public, I know Xi Jinping, top virologist at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and that's not possible. And I'll also say, I think you might actually be giving opponents of regulation too much credit, because what we saw at this meeting at the NIH earlier this week is, some folks said, we are in favor of transparency insofar as it prevents, congressional legislation, further cracking down on our work. But there were others who said we should limit FOIA requests into this sort of work, and we should limit the public's understanding of who is doing the work, basically, citing concerns about the lab leak theory and saying that scientists could be subject to harassment, which is not okay. But I also think that transparency into work going on pathogens made more dangerous to humans in the lab is also, highly important. And, we saw lobbyists for virologists oppose more regulation and transparency in pretty stark terms. So a representative of the American Society for Virology said that any sort of reform to the current regulations would be a solution looking for a problem, and that we would risk tying two hands behind our back when it comes to the next pandemic. And that's striking, right? Because the World Health Organization and the US intelligence community hasn't come to a firm conclusion about whether or not the most deadly pandemic in modern history came from a lab that received NIH funding.